Hey everyone, this is Cameron, co host and editor of the Renegade animation podcast on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to us. We are everywhere where podcasts can be found. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the wild world that is also extremely exhausting of the spring 2025 anime season. And now, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And yes, this time we are talking about the spring 2025 anime season. And I don't know about you, Cameron, but this one, more than any other spring season, has just wiped me the hell out.
Yeah, the big theme of this season was burnout. Let's just say what it was. This was a very mediocre season. At least if you're counting the newer shows that are coming out. The returning stuff was pretty good. I mean, it's hard to be mad at stuff like Apothecary Diaries still going on and Bye Bye Earth Season 2, Windbreaker Season 2, Fire Force Season 3. I've been killing slimes for 300 years. And then, of course, we won't talk about Witch Watch, Gundam G-Quicks, because we talked about those shows. And unfortunately, we decided to cut Lazarus, the new show by Watanabe, out only because the mixed response that the show has gotten makes me want to keep it for its own episode. So when all the episodes are out, we'll talk about it because why not? It's a new show from the creator of Cowboy Bebop.
I will say this really quick. Having seen the first 3 episodes of Lazarus, I think we made the right call because we want to give that thing its own room to breathe.
Exactly. And then there were also other returning shows like Aha Ren is Indecipherable Season 2 and the new My Hero Academia spinoff, My Hero Academia Vigilantes, which takes place in the past for this heroic franchise. We'll be talking about another new superhero series, or actually the next part of a series from China, but we'll talk about that in a moment. It was a chore to go through all these new shows. At the beginning of the winter season of last year, I had a small inkling that I was a little more excited about the returning shows. And when I was looking at the spring season, it was exactly more of that feeling, but then officially confirmed by just how bad a lot of these shows were. Even the good ones, just the good ones, not the amazing ones, still had flaws to them, or they weren't as good as they could have been. I mean, I loved Sakamoto Days from the last season, but still, I had my issues with it, and unfortunately, it was a lot of because of the animation could have been better, which is such a sad thing to say. I wish that wasn't the case. But here, it was more isekais, more generic rom-coms, fantasy shows, harems. We skipped a few of the video game ones because we're not talking about those. And the multimedia projects. And at most, they were fine. Just very fine. I got so mad in our group chat that it was just it's fine. It's fine. Everything is fine. It's fine. Golly, I don't think I've went through so many mediocre shows since one of the summer seasons that we went through that had that really bad Mappa Ichitan deities, where it's just golly. Anime, now more than ever, is so popular. Studios are trying to adapt whatever they can find, whatever has the smallest fan base, turn into an anime or multimedia project or whatever. And it's one, a lot of these multimedia projects are going to crash by the end of the year because, of course, they do.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these just suck. I'm sorry. A lot of these creatives are not making good shows, or they have their worst foot forward, or they have a good idea, but they're not executing or doing anything with it. I found very few shows this season to be like super cream of the crop, top tier. Witch Watch and Gundam G Quakes are up there. They don't count for this episode, but they would be up there if we had like a top 7. I think I would say a top 5 is all I would need from this season, not a top 10. And that sucks. I don't want to come into an anime season where I was worried it was going to be bad and then it turned out to be bad.
I agree. This season, more than any other season, I've probably had an easier time picking my top 5, which is concerning because of the volume of shows we have to talk. And don't worry, guys, we're not going to beat the there's too many anime horse again, even though that problem will just never go away if it never gets addressed.
Especially with the fact that like Toei recently was like, we're going to use Gen AI for a lot of our productions. And it's just like, no, God. And the fact that like we didn't even get that one anime that was apparently supposedly made with all Gen AI, except it apparently wasn't. It was just a shitty show that we didn't get. And it's just odd that like Crunchyroll, like they'll do a lot of bad things, but they were like, no, we're not going to use Gen AI, which is like, yeah, I'm sure you're not after you got caught with some of your subtitles for some of your shows being really terrible. They're Gen AI made. So the anime industry obviously cannot just survive on 10 shows a year. That's nuts. And no industry is ever going to do that. We need a healthy amount of shows so everyone can possibly stay in business and have employable work ready. But with anime, it's just like 60 new shows in various lengths. Some returning, some new, some studios picking up the slack and doing like 3 shows or something at a time. That's happened a couple times as we've been doing this. And I was ready to say maybe these were a mistake. Maybe Miyazaki was right. Anime's a mistake. But when I did find those good shows, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was like, yes, I found a really good show. And that's still great, but I hate that I have to go through so much crap just to get to them. Yeah, I don't have to, but we kind of important to keep tabs on the current trends of what kind of shows are getting made, what are creatives doing to innovate, quote unquote. And unfortunately, a lot of them aren't because they're all trying to copy from one another in this incestuous snake eating its own tail, whatever that is. And it's too much. Again, I'm sorry. I know we just said we're not going to do that, but a lot of you creatives need to start doing better and not just saying the bare minimum because you're like, oh, we have a harem that solves everything. No, it freaking doesn't.
This leads to my first takeaway, which is, guys, listen to me. We need to stop this really dumb story beat of the hero gets bumped from the adventuring party because they take him for granted, call him useless, when really he's like the most incredible person ever.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, the shows we watched this season are as listed. From Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman, Sword of the Demon Hunter, Once Upon a Witch's Death, Yaiba Samurai Legend, Teogonia, To Be Hero X, Please Put Them On, Takamine-san, Rock is a Lady's Modesty, The Dinner Table Detective, Mono, Catch Me at the Ballpark, Can a Boy Girl Friendship Survive, Kowloon Generic Romance, The Seunji Family Children, The Two Perfect Saint, The Beginning After the End, The Brilliant Healer's New Life in the Shadows, The Unaware Atelier Meister, The Gorilla's Go-To Girl, and Shirley, Zatutabi, That's Journey, A Ninja and assassin under one roof, food for the soul. I'm the evil lord of an intergalactic empire, and Apocalypse Hotel. And a few of those, as you mentioned, have the most trite, like, premise of, yeah, you're useless as a healer. Again, you're a healer. Try playing Final Fantasy 1 without a white mage. I dare you. And I don't mean like the PlayStation 1 or the remake or whatever. I mean like the original NES game. That will drive you up a wall. And why? Why get rid of your healer? Again, these shows do not give you a good reason why they are dumping these characters, and it doesn't make sense unless it was like a third party class, like the green mage or whatever. Okay, sure. They don't quite understand what a green mage or a appraiser do. Then ask. The fact that they don't ask them what they do, they just say like, "Yeah, we don't need you," and then they're like, "Huh? What's going on here? Why can't I like, why am I not healing? Oh, wait a minute." And then we got the unaware alt tier Meister or Master or whatever. And like, I don't really care what its name is. It's basically we have Talteba last dungeon at home, where
Basically.
he has a bunch of amazing skills and he is stupidly strong only because he's from a village where everyone is already stupidly strong. And apparently, no one asked him where he's from, so they just think he's weak, even though he's just kind of aloof and kind and doesn't really want to do combat. And then his party's just like, yeah, you're useless. And then they fall apart instantly. I mean, I will say, I did like the joke of the leader being mad that he's gone, not because he misses him, but because he made the best beef curry or something like that. Like, all the food is garbage to him except for this one dish he made. And he's like, God, we gotta get him back. And it's just like, man, I would not come back to you guys. Fuck you.
My thoughts exactly.
God, it's not going to stop anytime soon. I saw a few other shows in the summer season that are going to be like that. And guess what? One of them is the white mage was kicked out of the party again. Again. I am waiting for a frigging version of this show that actually gives you a proper explanation of why he was kicked out. And not one because it's a hero's party or the main party was an asshole or we're a bunch of assholes or we're the worst or whatever. It's so tiring. And I thought the villainous anime were getting tiring faster than anything else. This has gotten to the point where I just don't care anymore. We know how it's going to play out. You can have the best animation around if you want, but there is nothing saving a bad story. And that's one of my takeaways. Anime creatives, and a lot of this is probably because of the tight crunch schedule of most anime getting made. Creatives are forgetting the importance of story and character. Anytime I watch an isekai or a fantasy show, I want to know what are the stakes. Something like from Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman has one of the flimsiest plots ever with probably some of the creepiest story beats because on one hand, it has an actual adult character that you follow. This guy is like 40. It is amazing how that happens. It's like, wow, an actual lead character who is also looks his age. He doesn't just look like, oh, I'm still look like I'm in my 20s, or he uses some kind of magic or whatever.
He just looks like a 40-year-old dude.
Yeah. And then comes the harem element. And again, harem elements aren't inherently a bad thing. We'll talk about one of them that is still part of a yikes premise, but is actually focusing on the right thing. Here, it's like the main goal, the thing at stake is, can this guy give his dad grandchildren? How does this happen? How does he plan on doing this? By having the lead character who was a teacher at this sword fighting dojo get intimate with his previous students. Fan freaking yikes. The age gap, power dynamic, and yes, they could all be in their 20s. He's still half their age. There's still the power dynamic at play and such, even though some of them are like royal knights and whatever. It's so uncomfortable that this show is basically reinforcing the whole thing of we made this harem anime so you guys can start pumping out babies to help save the population of our country because apparently not everyone's having kids anymore for very obvious reasons that we're going to ignore and we're not going to solve or fix or whatever because
Hmm.
we just gotta have people take care of our elderly, man. And it's just like, no, dude. A harem anime isn't going to start bringing up the baby population. It's probably killed it more than anything else. Like, golly, man. That's the thing. I left half of these shows not caring. They're like another one, the beginning after the end, which might have some of the worst animation, even though it really wants to be the jobless reincarnation of the season. Like, okay, sci-fi premise. Okay, his original world is sci-fi. He is reincarnated into a fantasy world. Why? Who cares? It's fantasy reincarnation. And I like that he enjoys his more peaceful life because that's the whole thing. He wants his whole goal is to have a more peaceful life than he did in the past or future past, whatever. And yet, by the third episode, I just gave up. I was just like, I don't care. The animation's not good enough. The story's not good enough. The characters aren't compelling enough. At the very least, even if jobless reincarnation takes so long to get good, it is at least telling you a story of growth and redemption.
So here's the thing with at least half of the fantasy shows, I only got to the first two episodes and bailed. This is the one where even like at the end of episode 2, it ends on a pretty good out for anyone who like isn't really vibing with these characters. I've just been there, done that. This is basically we have jobless reincarnation at home.
And then there were shows like Please Put Them On Takamine-san, which, to be fair and to be clear, fan service fetish shows aren't inherently bad. 100 Girlfriends somehow found a way to make a horny harem show be one of the most wholesome, cracked out, funny series because the creatives at hand just said, fuck it, we are going to run with this and we're going to have fun. Half of these shows just kind of come off like they aren't having fun. And Please Put Them On Takamine-san is a prime example of that because it's very much like fully fetish porn. It's porn without the extra steps to actually become porn, especially with how, revealing everything is because it's about a female character, like a student, the popular, like student council president, the most liked student at the school. She has this weird, just horny ability of if she takes off her undergarments, he can turn back time. And anyone who sees her doing this knows about it. And so she blackmails our lead into like being like with, him being a horny teen to be like, help me throughout all this, keep my secret, and I'll let you see everything. And the animation looked terrible. Like, if you're going to be a fan service show, you have to invest into animation like you would an action show or a high
Exactly.
concept comedy. Because otherwise, I'm sorry, it looks like some of the cheapest hentai you can find online and such. It looked bad. I noped out of that after the first episode. I was like, okay, I know where this is going. I don't need to see this. And it's not even like my flavor of horny or whatever. It's not even that. It's just a bad story. And I know that sounds dumb to complain about a story, but again, 100 Girlfriends happened, and you're telling me you can't do that with one girl? That show's about to get away with it with like 20, and they haven't even gotten to 100 yet. So, like, what are you telling me? You're telling me you can't do this with two characters? Or the fact that, like, can a boy-girl friendship survive? Spoilers, yes, they can, but we know where that show's going. Like,
Exactly.
we know the two lead characters are going to end up together. It's like that Prosy D Sungwon Cho bit where the solution to every romantic triangle or harem show, it's just like, why don't we all just fuck? All of us. And that's how the anime was saved. So, or like the Seunji family children. You read that description and it's just like, oh no, we're heading into an incest anime with a sister harem. And then it pulls one of the most unhinged twists ever on one of the siblings' birthday, no less, where the dad comes up and he's like, oh man, this is a great family dinner. By the way, you're not all related to one another. Bye. And it's just like, all the kids are like, what the fuck?
I felt so bad for the youngest sibling because she's like the most sensitive one of the family, and it's it's because of her 15th birthday that the dad's like, "Yeah, you guys are all old enough to know the truth after lying for however many years."
I mean, there are some bad parents in this anime season, but he might be one of the worst just for that moment alone. Just and what's so cool about that show, it's like it's the best part and it's also the worst part, is the fact that it focuses on the drama, the drive of like, okay, what does this mean for our sibling characters? Like, how do they handle this? What's the fallout going to be? And the show rightfully focuses on the drama of that because, yeah, I think I would be too mortified to be like, for the show to be like, oh, look, titties. And it's just like, I don't care. But this whole family has just been torn asunder by a dad pulling the worst birthday gift of all time. And you want me to focus on the fan service? No. I like that the characters are bonding with one another, but it's also still at the end of the day an incest anime kind of thing. And it's like no matter who or whichever they end up with, or maybe none at all. I don't know. It's still getting together with someone that you considered a blood sister until then. So, and that sucks. A compelling drama that focuses on the actual characters, but is still caught within its own framing device of a sister harem. And it's just like, ah. I don't know how you recover from that. I don't think you do.
It is certainly difficult. That's why, out of all the romance shows, the one that A, surprised me the most, and B, that I can recommend the most is Kowloon Generic Romance.
God, that was a great one. Just it's the best mystery show of the season and the best romance of the season because it not only focuses on adult characters and adult topics, but it also has a great underlying sci-fi mystery of why doesn't our female lead remember who she was or anything that happened in the past, because you find out at the end of the first episode she was supposed to be married to our other lead. And as the world around her stays pretty stagnant, with some obvious foreshadowing that this might be a fake world that they live in, because this is based off of the real life location of the walled city of Kowloon. And it's like it's stuck in its own romantic nostalgia of that time period, of that world. And just like the small shops of the people you knew there, it's so good. And it has that cool retro anime vibe to it, not only with its designs, but it looks like it just like the Yaiba Samurai Legend reboot or new adaptation of that old classic anime slash manga. It looks like it's a filter or something like that. That gives it like an old 90s anime look.
I felt that watching it, and speaking of Yaiba, another positive takeaway for the season is this season is for the old heads. When you have shows like Yaiba and Kowloon Generic Romance, harkening back to I don't want to say a better time, but a time where a lot of the people who are in the industry now, they were children in the 80s and 90s, and they're kind of getting to relive that with these shows.
Or like the new adaptation of Anne Shirley, which, if you've seen the very original show from 1979, which was directed by the late great master of animation Isao Takahata, his show, they still keep a lot of that alive. Like, it still feels like its own thing, but they're picking up what Isao Takahata was doing, and on top of it having amazing animation and designs very similar to the old show, it's again, what are the stakes? Should I care about this girl who unfortunately has a troubled family who is now moving to the countryside to be a assistant or maid for this crotchety elder lady and her brother, like, who's a farmer, and how she sees the world differently and how that changes the world around her because of just her unique perspective on life. And then she doesn't hold anything back. She wears her emotions on her sleeve. And it's weird to see how the retro style shows, which are not always given to work. We saw that one where it was like, oh, it's a harem rom-com, like romantic comedy about a guy getting ogled by like tough bully women and stuff. Like, it tried to be like a retro style series, and then it just looked bad because the animation wasn't good and the designs ended up ugly. But here, like, Yaiba has amazing animation. Probably some of Studio Wit's most bouncy, expressive animation, and it looks really good. It has a cartoony vibe that you really just don't get from a lot of anime these days. Because a lot of more modern cartoony anime take more from like some of the more cracked out like skit comedy based anime and stuff. Here it's like, no, it feels like an old anime you used to watch. It has like more of the cartoony, like the 12 steps of animation put into it. Characters squash, stretch, bounce. There's so much life into it. And of course, it was going to get that because of not only Studio Wit, but it obviously had a lot of money put into it.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's just like the old school anime fans got like a good helping here. And unfortunately, one of my other takeaways was this season was wasting my time. So many other shows just waste your time. And I don't think there's one that had a more infamous, infuriating first episode than the Brilliant Healer's New Life in the Shadows. You not
Mhm.
only have a healer who was kicked out of the party because of reasons, even though this is a whole world where healers are highly looked upon and are extremely important to that world's economy and ecosystem. And then it takes 10 grueling, unfunny, ugly looking minutes to focus on the harem. And again, can we please stop having fantasy worlds or European inspired fantasy worlds where somehow jean shorts exist? Like, too much of the costume and attire in this show's world is like clashing between the old and the new. Like, really modern 90s grunge looking stuff. And it is constantly distracting. And after 10 minutes of focusing on the harem, it's like, oh my god, where's the plot? Where's the story? Until you find out that this was an anime exclusive story. They plop you down halfway or so into the title's run to where you could see all the harem. This show does not respect your attention span or intelligence because it feels like it has to shove the harem in your face for 10 minutes to be like, don't you like these girls? Aren't they pretty? They're varied. They look cute. The lizard girl looks kind of cool and lizardy. There's an Oni girl. There's a wolf girl. There's a small elf child, yikes, and a ghost girl. Aren't they cute and sexy? Don't you want to buy merchandise for them? And it's just like, I'm sorry, wasn't this the plot about a healer? And then he comes in, beats up a guy abusing a slave, and it does the barest minimum of I'm going to be a good guy by tearing up the slave contract that the slave had and just being like, I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to help me find this one thing and then you can go. Okay, fine, whatever. He's the nice guy and such. But man, that, like, please put them on. Takamine-san might still be the worst show I watched this season, but I don't think one show infuriated me more than this one because of that. And then it starts us at the beginning. So it wastes a whole episode trying to convince you that this is going to be good, and it isn't.
Yeah, I this is another one where I only watched 2 episodes because I literally just felt like my time was being wasted.
Again, so many do this. I'm the evil lord of an intergalactic empire. This dang thing wants to be Ari Ferretta so badly. The edgy, try-hard revenge anime where a guy goes through the ringer with the most over-the-top, horrible outcome to his life. With his wife cheating on him, working a crappy job. The boss of the company that he works at is the one that his wife is cheating on with. He gets like the whole deck of disasters handed to him. And then there's this weird, creepy dude who's just like, hey, I will give you a variety of isekai options. And our main lead's just like, no, because I had a terrible life, I'm going to make it everyone else's problem. And that means I'm going to be an evil villain with over-the-top, overpowered abilities in this sci-fi world, which, okay, to be fair, for an isekai, at least taking a sci-fi route is better than being a boring, weeb, otaku-focused fantasy video game world.
That was
I'll
literally
accept
the only
that.
thing I liked about that show is that at least it didn't take place in a vaguely Euro-Asian influenced fantasy land.
And then the show is like, oh yeah, this 5-year-old character who his parents abandoned him with the money and mansion and political power. And at one point, this 5-year-old main character gets a robot made of his ideal makings, which is already creepy because it is so incel coded, so misogynistically coded of a show. And apparently it's implied that the 5-year-old fucked the maid robot.
Gross.
And they tried to play it off as a joke. It's just not good. It's a terrible origin story for our lead. Our lead sucks. And the sci-fi world just isn't all that interesting. And we know he's going to get some kind of harem of women who find him attractive for some unknown reason that the show has to pretzel itself into making us feel like, yeah, this harem makes sense. And it's like, no, it doesn't. Shut up. It does not. Golly, And like the Two Perfect Saints, it's like, it's the hot fuzz situation, man. The only reason our saintly maiden character is kicked out of her kingdom and family is because she's doing her job too well. And she doesn't smile because apparently men like to think women should be smiling all the time. It's the beginning of Hot Fuzz. She's getting literally kicked out because the other saints and everyone else doesn't like that she's doing way too good of a job.
And she has a bad attitude.
Bad attitude, yeah, because she takes this job seriously. And then she goes to this new kingdom because she got sold there. It's like, okay, worst parents almost the worst parents. I still think the family children anime still has the worst dad.
These parents come close with
It's like, by the way,
they
we
put
don't
her
want
through.
you here anymore, so we're going to sell you to a new kingdom. Your sister doesn't have any implication or second opinion to say about this. Even though it turns out the sister's like, yo, that's kind of messed up. But it's just whatever. We know what's going to happen here. There's nothing thrilling or Once Upon a Witch's Death. It is cutesy looking. It looks like it's going to be another witch magic, quirky, cute girls doing cute things show. And then you get the plot of, oh, by the way, you're 17, you're going to die in a year unless you can get 1,000 tears to break the curse.
That
And
that plot is so needlessly complicated for a show that could just be. I'm not saying it would ever be as good as Violet Evergarden, but for witches sounds like they had a layup and they messed it up by overcomplicating things.
they overcomplicated the plot, and then they also gave us a really bad art style. Like, it looks fine for a cutesy, cute girls doing cute things anime. But no, the story wants to be dead serious about this 17-year-old finding out how to enjoy life. And I sound like such a heartless monster saying this, but it tries way too hard to pull at your heartstrings. And looking at the anime news network forums of how many people are watching this show and are like, this is the most heartbreaking episode yet. And it's just like, if you like it, fine. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But y'all should know better. This is not a good show.
I will admit, episode 2 got to me, but that's because it kind of hit home.
No, it's like it has its moments, but it wants you to be bawling your eyes out. And then in the third episode, it introduces a master witch who you are introduced to with her putting her foot on our lead character's face. So it really just introduced a foot fetish out of nowhere for no reason. And it's like, why? Why are you doing this? I just bailed out of that one too after that. I was just, okay, whatever. I don't care. And then you get to shows like Zatsutabi, which is not the worst show of the season. Far from it. It's an adequate, cute girls doing a hobby thing, which in this case is traveling all across Japan to its more touristy destinations. Until you realize how much it focuses on giving you all the details about the locations they are at. Like, these are real locations, but do you even care that our main character is a struggling manga artist? Because the show really doesn't care. Or it cares about it with like the barest essentials of storytelling. Because it's more interested in being a marketing ploy, which it's not the worst one, but I'm also bored by it.
It's like they only introduce her as a struggling manga artist just to set up the why of why she's going on these.
You just don't
adventures.
see anything from like the anime or manga she's working on afterwards. It's just, where do I go next? And then let's go there, and then we'll bring on cute girls to travel alongside you and whatever. So again, so many of these shows waste your time. Or like the Dinner Table Detective, which wants to be this corny, popcorny, campy, like Agatha Christie murder mystery show that doesn't take its time to set up the murder mysteries or any implication of who the suspects are. They just kind of set you up already. It's like someone watched Knives Out and thought the best parts was the reveal instead of the slow burn of the reveal. There's a reason why Murder on the Orient Express is such a fun story to read and to watch if you're watching. Who was the director who also plays Hercule Poirot?
Oh, Kenneth Branagh?
Because you watch the slow burn of who could have possibly killed a guy until he comes up to the realization of they all did. That's great. But the Dinner Table Detective is just like, I don't care about the build up and mystery of how we're going to put this together. We're going to cut to the reveal and cut out the middleman work. And it's just like, that's the most important part. Knives Out wouldn't be as good as it was if they just cut out all the fun stuff in the middle and all the build up family members and the dynamics and the ungrateful attitudes they all had and the surprise twist of Chris Evans being the villain if there was no build up to it. It forgets how to be a mystery show with probably the worst dub of the season and probably of the year so far.
Yeah. No, definitely.
I don't know what is going on with this show on Prime. The other dubs sound fine. This is the one where it's like, we're going back to Central Park Media days because that's how nostalgic I am. And it's just like, no. They probably got some new actors who have no idea what they are doing. I couldn't recognize anyone from the voice cast.
Me neither.
And apparently, since the dubbing studio kind of works with Gen AI, you kind of have to worry a little about what they're doing exactly. Or like, again, Teogonia, this another isekai where if you cut out the isekai part, it would actually be an adequately decent fantasy show about a young man who wants to become stronger. But then you just know in the back of your head, at one point, they're going to have to really focus on why this kid got isekai to this land or something like that. And it wasn't good enough to get past the third episode. I was like, okay, the action's pretty decent. The characters are likable enough. The designs are cool. The fact that it takes more of a Romance of the Three Kingdoms design route with the fashion or whatever, that actually is a point in its favor. And the dub is pretty solid too. But otherwise, it's more or less a generic fantasy show.
This is one of those where I really liked it, but I also understand if you're just tired of shows that throw a bunch of concepts together and not really following through. Like you said, this probably didn't need to be an isekai, and I'm sure we'll get some explanation later down the road. But aside from that, I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the action of it all, but this one's not going to enter that top 5 anytime soon.
No. And that's the thing. It's like even like the more solid shows of the season still had like issues with them, varying degrees of issues that hinder the experience. But like we're getting to the good shows and stuff, but we have to get through this middle ground area where a lot of it was just fine. And a good example of this was Sword of the Demon Hunter, which has the longest episode of any of the shows this season with a double length 52-minute episode. And it's a solid action revenge show that apparently gets better from what fans say of the source material, that it gets to be more compelling and has more one-off stories that aren't as nihilistic and dark as the first episode, where it's like it has a really solid setup, and for at least like half, like the first half of the episode, like I was kind of into it. A brother and sister run away from an abusive household to end up in his village, where the brother ends up being a demon slayer, while his sister, who might be part demon, is stuck forever as a child as years pass. And their childhood friend becomes the new priestess of this village that unfortunately gets hit with a demon attack that ends up with her getting killed in the most gruesome way possible, where the sister with the demon eye has sibling love for her brother, ill.
Hmm.
And no, the problem is not the sister loves her brother, That's not the problem. The problem is that it's implied to be more than that. And it's just like, ill. No. And she just stabs the priestess and cuts her head off and laughs. And it's just like, it is so mean spirited. I don't know why this show felt like it needed to do this. This is like mid 2000s edgelord territory. And like I watched the second and third episode and they were way better, but at the same time I'm like, is it good enough for me to want to continue? Not really.
I almost wish I went past the double length premiere, but I was so put off by how that ended that I'm like, I don't care if you get better. That was just a step too far.
It's a very unpleasant first episode of how it ends. And I get it, there need to be stakes, and we do get stakes at the end. And with how the brother loses his arm, but then the demon ogre he's fighting, it's like, well, I'm gonna fuse to you, buddy. It just doesn't work as much as it wants to. And then with like other shows that we've talked about, like Mono. Mono is one of the few super cute girls doing cute things shows. But with this one, it's a focus on a group of girls getting together to form a photography club and then merge with a cinematography club. And it's really cool. It's got a lot of great animation and visuals. And then you're reminded maybe a few too many times that this was made by the same person who made Laid Back Camp because they have visual references. They literally say that one of the characters is a laid back manga artist. And it's like, okay, I get it. And then they do things like travel to take pictures. And it's like, oh, look at this great camping area. And it's like, we get it. You made Laid Back Camp. We get it. For the love of God, we get it. It's a shame because it's still a good show about finding your passion in life. It does enough to make it watchable and very fun and sometimes funny, but it's also like, I've seen this before, and it's like the creator or the team are just kind of like jerking themselves off. It's like, yeah, I made a super popular cute girls doing cute things show. And it's just like, I get it. I get it. Just, well, and you asked me, does this take place in the same universe as Layback Camp? And no, officially, but both shows are so similar, they probably do. The Gorilla God's go to girl. Great premise. A rich royal who comes from the countryside picks her worshipping Eidolon, her god that she works under and gets her powers from. And she chooses, out of all the animals, a gorilla. And unfortunately, the show is like, yeah, I get it because part of her name sounds like gorilla. And it's like, okay, okay, show, we get it. You're not as smart as you think you are. Because other characters have like, oh, that name means cat and bird and whatever. But it is delightful that she is not made a punching bag for jokes. Even though a lot of jokes are like, oh, let me help lift up these two giant barrels. And everyone's like, what the fuck? Or she's like, here, let me just lightly grab onto this. And she accidentally crushes it because she has this, get the C Lab 2021 lines in here. 5 gorillas. Yeah, she's as strong as a gorilla, but she is not made to be a freak or is like a constant stream of jokes and harassment because she's unladylike because she has the gorilla god like following her. And yet all the guys are like, she is the most fascinating woman on the planet and I want to be her friend, possibly her boyfriend. It has a likable world. I like that barber character.
The barber is a lot of fun.
Like, it's a fun show, but it's also like, is there anything else to this gimmick outside of her being as strong as a gorilla? And it has like the strength, speed, stamina of a gorilla and stuff. And it's like, no. And to be fair, it's likable enough to where it might not need to do that. But it's also like, you kind of want it to be a little more creative. I'm not saying she needs to have like a sudden urge to eat bananas all the time or something, or eat whatever gorillas eat. It seems like there could have been a gold mine of material to have, and they kind of do it too. Like, kind of, they like the gorilla has a lot of fun expressions or like reactions to stuff, like how he holds out a rose, like this big monstrous silverback gorilla holds out a rose, and it's really a fun visual. But there's just not a whole lot to it. Then it's just, oh, a girl falls in love with a bunch of boys and like it's good, like the boys are likable and distinct, and then the ending of the show is like, yeah, these are the prettiest princely characters of all time. You have to admit they are hot. And it's like, okay, I guess they are.
I think it probably would have helped if it was a little bit dumber. If the gorilla's expressions were like bigger and more over the top. As it is, I do enjoy our lead. I like the supporting characters. I do kind of get a kick out of the horde of students who like follow her every time she makes a move.
I love when she's just like, okay, I just have to run fast enough to win this competition or to do well enough to still be in the background. And because she has the strength and speed of a freaking gorilla, and I mean, you've seen a gorilla charge, it's horrifying. at how fast those big animals can come at you. She just crashes through a wall, and everyone's just like, "What happened there?" Like, it's fun. Or like we have Catch Me in the Ballpark, which is like Don't Toy With Me Nagatoro mixed with someone who really wanted to make their love for baseball stadiums known. Like, at first you think it's just going to be about this salary man falling for this employee snack vendor girl. It's cute, it's fine, it's a little funny, and yes, because I've seen this way more than once, the way you pour a beer can actually change how it tastes. It's just
Hmm.
kind of like how the oxygen comes in. And you see this on like Iron Chef when they like pour water or tea from high above. And it's just like, why are you doing that? You're not making a waterfall. And it's like, because the air and the oxygen gets in or leaves as it's going down or whatever. And it just makes for a more refreshing drink. And it's like, oh, okay. But it really only got better when it started to focus on the other story beats, like the police officer and why he's like elderly, but it shows why he's really good at his job and why he does it. Then you realize it's connected to this young officer who's new and it's just doing this to probably just pay the bills and not much else. And then he realizes, like, wait a minute, I was also lost here a long time ago, and he's the same police officer who saved me. And it's wholesome, it's sweet. But by the first episode, you just kind of know what you're going to get. And it
Yeah,
just sucks that the romance is like the weakest part of the show. At least for me, it is.
maybe it's because we've already seen Don't Tease Me Nagatoro that nothing they're doing is all that surprising. But I do enjoy the other subplots in this show.
And to be fair, at least from what I recall, they don't quite focus on fan service because sometimes when they do these kind of shows, or it's like, let's have a bunch of cute girls do like working out at the gym and show why working out is awesome and be like really educational about it. But it's also like, man, are a bunch of guys who are watching this going to learn the wrong lesson and are just going to start harassing women at the ballpark now because of this? Please tell me they're not going to do that. And or like at the gym or whatever hobby or and what have you and such. It didn't really focus on fan service. Like, yeah, the main character's hot, I guess, depending on how you like your anime girls. Hopefully not in a creepy way.
Seriously.
But there's no like lingering focus of them in the changing room and locker rooms or something, or focusing on just the figure of our lead. She has a personality. She has a character. And now she has her own drive of wanting to be this one burnt out salaryman's personal snack and beer vendor character and such. And it's cute. Or like Food for the Soul, which is, I would say, I guess this would probably be in my top five. I have to kind of think about it more. But it's made by the same people who made Non Fiore, if I recall. And it's an original show that PA worked on. And I will say the biggest offense of this show is mostly the fact that it's very lightweight compared to what PA Works has done in the past. I'm sorry, it's just so hard to overlook that 1 year where they did like Buddy Daddies, your boy Kon Ming, and then the Akiba Maid Wars show.
That was one hell of a year.
Yeah, so it's just like to see this be one of PA Works' shows of this year. It's like it's really cute. I like the characters enough. I like the chilled vibe and how they're all learning to love cooking because cooking's really cool. We really should have had cooking and like home ec as a major part of school and what have you, like the curriculum. But it was treated as like a side class instead of a main class. And it is funny, like the fact that the friends had to help that one character find her 5,000 yen only to be an absolute waste of time because she didn't actually hide the 5,000 yen. And she's like, thank you for your time for helping me find this. And everyone just is not letting it go that it was just a waste of time. They are just like, Yeah, you're welcome. Wasted so much goddamn time. It's funny enough, and then the food looks great. It has to look great because you can no longer do that. I forgot what the show was, but it was infamous because it literally changed the animation landscape because the animation was so bad. A cabbage was just like a green circle, and everyone was like, "What is that? Why
Oh
does it look
God.
like that?" And it became like a unspoken law in anime where the food actually has to look passable. Like you can't just do a green circle and then that's it. Like this is a cabbage. No, it's not. Like it's a fun show. I like it. It's very lightweight, and sometimes I'm just like not in the mood for that. When I know PA Works can make much better shows or can work on much better ideas.
I guess another takeaway I have for the season is yeah, a lot of the shows this season were more on the laid back end of things. Definitely has like that kind of vibe compared to other seasons, which may have either more action, more comedy, even, or just more endless fantasy isekai.
There were a lot of like girls doing cute things hobby shows this season. It was kind of funny. And a lot of good looking food among a lot of the shows. But this is where we get to how many of the shows this season, outside of Witch Watch and Gundam G Quick and Yaiba, were genuinely great because these last few shows that I found to be like my personal favorites were so refreshing that it wasn't even funny of how good they were compared to everything else. I was flabbergasted by how much I enjoy these shows. On like the lower end, we do have like a ninja and an assassin under one roof, which is a dark comedy that could have gone into the more interesting stuff after episode 3, where it starts having more social commentary and stuff like about entry level jobs and the low pay that people suffer through to earn that stuff. But it is like a weird, quirky comedy that was actually very funny. I love all these elaborately designed ninja assassins who have like vibrant personalities, some of the most fluid animation of the season. And yet they're all taken out by the assassin girl just with like a quick stab in the back. And then the ninja girl turns their bodies into leaves that are then used for mulch, which is so funny in a dark that like even whatever shortcomings I had about it, like I said, it could have gone into the more interesting, substantial stuff earlier. But then there'll be a moment where the assassin girl realizes that the ninja girl was replaced with a robot, and she didn't even notice until it was pointed out to her. And even then, she's still like, yeah, I kind of prefer the robots. Which is so mean spirited, but it was like funny in that way where it was a where you enjoyed it, or there's this in that same zone of what happened. It turns into weird popsicle paper cutouts of the ninja girl, the robot ninja girl, and the assassin, and they're just like moving the flat figures around like in real time, like holding them up and stuff, and it's like it catches you off guard, and it's one of the biggest laughs of like this overall year and season because you're just not expecting a shift in animation change.
This one was a lot of fun. It's not exactly the most groundbreaking in terms of the odd couple dynamic between the ninja and the assassin, just because they have like very distinct personalities. But the situations they get themselves in are enjoyable enough that I could probably keep watching this after the third episode.
Yeah, I think so too. It's not a priority watch, but it's like if I needed something laid back and I just didn't want to watch something with too much story and character development, I would probably put it on and just enjoy the fact that no matter how strong these killer ninjas are, it's just like a quick stab in the back and they're done. even though if it plays that joke maybe a little too much in the first 3 episodes, it was still funny when you realize, oh yeah, we're using the leaves that are the dead bodies of the dead ninjas as mulch. So, but then we get to Apocalypse Hotel, which was probably the one of the biggest surprises. I was going to say the biggest surprise, but then another one we'll talk about in a moment came up, and I was like, okay, now that's my new hyper obsession. Because this show became my first hyper obsession of the season. That wasn't Yaiba and stuff. The fact that it begins like anime Wally, and it's about these robots at a hotel after everyone has left the earth, and it's still functioning every day for like 5,000 days. They do the same thing. They open up the hotel. The doorman robot burns out and needs water tossed onto him. The robots do everything. They remake the beds. They make sure you have the shower hat. They cook delicious food for no one, or just hoping someone comes in. And you wonder, it's like, this is such a stupid thing. Why are they doing this? And then throughout the first episode, you just get these little details of like, oh, these aren't the only robots, or these weren't the only robots. There were other robots that died, unfortunately, like either making the hot spring or something. And it's like, what is their purpose? What is your drive? And it is so compelling, even though it could be written off as a cutesy anime that's not all that substantial, but the substance is there. Not the movie, The Substance, but you know. But the robots are likable. The two cleaning robots have a rivalry. The doorman robot is so hell-bent on opening the door perfectly. He is happy with just burning out every 5 minutes because it's his one job.
What makes the show special is it has a very optimistic point of view. We have no reason to believe that humanity in this world is going to come back in full force. But the robots need to believe this in order to keep going. And that's just a good message for like, no matter how bad things are now, things will get better in the future.
It's like the show came out at the right time because, man, everything just seems so like doom and gloom for understandable reasons right now. It's like this show, along with a few others, have come out in a time that reflect the problems of today, and it's so funny how that happens. Oh, and they become timeless because they're just timeless messages. And then not only do the robots just keep finding that purpose to keep going, they finally get customers who are aliens. And you get great lessons of don't worry about the future probabilities. Worry about what's right now. Worry about the future later. Focus on the present. With that one cactus mushroom alien. And then in the third episode, we get those Tanuki aliens. They add a new spice because they're just a level of weirdos that work against the robots. And the robots are so like, you know, they have their program, they have their function. They don't really know how to deal with Tanukis. So it makes you really want to see where this goes. And apparently it gets really good still. So it's like, I love this show. But again, the fact that I had to like struggle to get to this point is so, it's so frustrating because I didn't know this was going to be amazing. I just happened to pick it and then be like, wow, this was really good.
Yeah, I think this is either the second or third show that I watched, and I knew immediately after that first episode that I was going to love it.
And then we have probably the big hype new title of the season with To Be Hero X, or To Be a Hero X. And at first, it comes off very My Hero Academia. It's like a non-hero becomes a hero suddenly. And yet, it's all in the level of world building and details of what unfold. One, This isn't a world of like people with superpowers, like all of a sudden, like quirks and such. Your powers are dependent on what your fans decide your power is. Or not really decide, but it's like what their inspirational, hopeful energy gives you. Like there's Firm Man, who unfortunately, while super strong, cannot move. Like he stands firm, so he stands firm. And that's his one superpower. There's a blonde girl who at first I was like, is she the co-lead or not? And then she leaves the show for a bit, but then comes back, where she was a vlogger who traveled a lot. So her superpower is teleportation. Like that's how it works. That's how the superpowers work here. And our main character becomes Mr. Nice because as he was looking upon the top of the building where after losing his job, the actual Mr. Nice, or who may not even be the original Mr. Nice, just walks right by him and just jumps off the building, killing himself. And it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck is happening here? And then this secretary woman comes over and they quickly take our main character and make him the new Mr. Nice. And like quickly like train him and make sure he is the same superhero. It's like there is something amazing about that bit of commentary where it's like, oh, they're superheroes are kind of disposable if you can find the proper replacement for them.
Like The Boys in terms of the corporatization of superheroes, but it also has enough of its own identity. It's something honestly pretty unique in terms of what it's doing and what it has to say about superheroes, about imposter syndrome, what it means to have like people who
Courage and bravery.
exactly, and people who will just stand by you no matter what.
And the action is great. Obviously, this show got a lot of hype a few years ago because it's multi-style use of animation. It is at first using really stylized CGI, which looks great, but then at moments it will turn into stylish 2D animation. And it looks so cool. It is probably the best looking show of the season.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Also, Sawano does the music.
Yeah, and I love that second episode story of the lost friendship between Nice and this one other character, and like how the company uses it as a means, as a bit of promotion to make sure that the female lead or the one who can teleport can break out of this wife girlfriend position that she's in. Because she and Mr. Nice, or at least the original Mr. Nice, were not actually a couple. It was like they were made to be a couple, forced to be a couple, because that's what the fans want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would argue that this show does not have a kind word. Like, a generally not kind word towards the fans because of stuff like this, or at least a perspective. Because there are some where it's like, yeah, fan support is really important, but there's also the point where it's like, this is not going to be good unless they get together. It is the official canon ship. And it's just like, I don't know, man. Do they want to be a couple? If they don't, then why force them? Except that's what the company does. And it's so sinister how they put that up. So it's a really just compelling show, even if I would argue it loses points because it just goes way too fast in the first episode. Like the dubbing is good, but it like the dialogue moves really fast. The pacing needed to slow down a little, but I understand it's a really high concept show that really needed to get all the details out about how this world works in one episode. But it's like it could have easily taken more time to do so because I would have still been invested, but I would have been able to take in everything when it wasn't just being shot at me like a water hose at once.
Yeah, even I'll admit the first episode, it's throwing a lot at you, but the rest of the Nice slash Commoner arc which extends to episode 4, the pacing gets smoothed out.
It works out really well. Stick to the show. The first episode's a little rough, but by the second episode, it's great. The first episode ends on a really great note. Also, that just makes you really want to be like, okay, we gotta watch the rest of what happens here. I think out of all the shows that I watched this season, out of all like 25 or whatever shows we watched, I don't think a show connected with me on such a contact high level as Rock is Her Lady's Modesty. This became my favorite show of the season and quite possibly of the year. And what's so good about this, and what I really hope anime YouTubers do not try to focus way too much on, is the fact that, or like on a aspect of the show I hope they don't focus on, is the fact that there is so much of this show, and depending on how you watch it, the answer is yes. So it's like, okay, is this a deeply complex show about how women are treated in society, how they're forced and trained to be prim and proper, and to give up any kind of identity or personality or hobby to become an elegant little lady? And how this group of women in this show at this like really overzealous like Catholic like school use rock and roll as a means to escape from that world and to express themselves and to basically tell society, fuck you for putting me in a box. Yes, it is that kind of show where they use music to push back against the patriarchal definition of what women can only be. And that's literally a driving force of our characters, where they use music to escape, to express themselves. There's a scene later on when like all the main 4 girls are together, and the blonde girl with the pigtails, some of the biggest pigtails I've seen of any anime character.
Yeah, seriously.
And she is just like, no, you know what? Fuck you. We're gonna rock and roll with our cocks out, and we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want. We're not gonna fucking listen to you. Now get the fuck out of here and let us fucking rock and roll here. And it's like, oh, I like these characters. Like, seriously, it's like in a world right now where sadly the society that we live in is now becoming even more misogynistic, and like the people in charge really don't want women to do anything. It's like, here's a proud, chaotic, intense rebel yell of like rebellion. It is that good.
This show is awesome, but the part that got me really excited before I even watched like the first episode, I was just like casually doing research and found out, oh, wait a minute. I'm looking at the credits on Wikipedia. Oh, I see members of Bandmade are involved in this show. They're not just like making songs for the soundtrack. They're actually doing the motion capture of the girls playing the instruments.
The opening does kick a lot of ass. It is.
That's also Bandmade.
And it's so good. It's, again, one of my favorite openings, probably the best opening of the season. Maybe next to My Hero Academia Vigilantes. But here's the thing, Mike. I also said the thing that I said was only one way you look at this show. If you ask me and say, like, is this like a really trashy girl romance with BDSM elements and boob jokes on top of everything else, fandom kind of element? And I would say, yes. Is it a deeply complex show with layers upon layers that you can dissect? Yes.
Yes.
Is it a horny, trashy, maybe gay romance also? Yes.
Yes.
And that's the best part. That's like the most anime thing ever, where it has nuance, fan service, and trashy fun in one package. And it is so good. And like the music is so good. The story, the characters, the fact that you learn and understand why these girls are doing what they do, why they use drumming and guitar playing to escape from this really constrictive world. But it's also going to throw in visuals of S&M between the women. So it's like, okay, but the characters are so good. it doesn't matter. It's icing on the cake. You're not distracted by that fact that there's trashy fan servicey elements in your deeply complex rebel yell of an anime.
This show is just so good. I know I say I want to keep watching these shows, but this is one that I actually am going to try to keep up with for like the rest of the season.
We're definitely going to have to come back to this one and talk about it in its own full episode. And even if it becomes like, I don't know, like, oh, it's going to have some kind of idolish elements later on, or if there's like a season 2 or whatever. Like, if season 1 is this good and so much fun, sure, have the girls later on compete against other rock bands or something like that. Like, fine, go all on Gakuar sound on this thing, man. Or if it's just one season, good. Anime is kind of good like that, where you can just have one season and that's it. I was so happy to find this show, and I was so glad that it did not waste its potential, because you look at like the main visual poster of it, and even though it looks really cool and you know nothing about the source material, it's like, I don't know. It could be fine. It could also squander everything and just be another pop idol, rock idol group or whatever. But no, it goes the distance. It goes beyond just being otaku bait. It does everything that a good anime wants you to do. And I just hope that, like, when people talk about the best trashy anime of the season, that they don't just focus on the trashier, like, slightly queer. Well, it's not even subtext, it's context.
Yeah.
You watch that third episode and they do that one amazing performance. And you're not telling me that, you know, it isn't like sexually charged, even without the one image. It's like, okay, this show has so much you can talk about, and I hope it sticks the landing. I want this to stick the landing. Man, I wish the whole season was like that. Like that. A bunch of really distinct, unique, and interesting shows that knew what they were and knew how to do more than just the bare minimum, which is unfortunately a thing that makes a lot of money, because everyone has their first isekai or their first harem anime, or will just be suckered into saying like, yeah, the anime harem is enough, even if the rest of the show blows chunks. Spring seasons are usually the best seasons for anime, and yet this wasn't it, fam.
That's what really crushed about this season. Usually spring is like the ones where like, oh geez, I have like 7 to 10 shows I really liked, but I have to narrow it down to 5. This one, I'm pretty much ready to give my top 5.
And let's do it. Mike? What is your top 5?
A tie for number 1 is going to be To Be Hero X and Rock as a Lady's Modesty. Below that would be Apocalypse Hotel. Below that would be, Yaiba Samurai Legend. And I guess if I have to put one more, it would be Kowloon Generic Romance.
I think for me, yeah. I mean, if it wasn't obvious, but obviously my favorite was Brilliant Healer's New Life in the Shadows. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's Rock as a Lady's Modesty. That's my number 1. To Be Hero X is number 2. Number 3 is Apocalypse Hotel. Yaiba, Samurai Legend, and Kowloon Generic Romance, with Anne Shirley in like a very close 6th place. That one is so good with its characters, and it's really just character focused all around. This isn't counting Witch Watch, which is also really good with its quirky witch modern day fantasy element comedy. And of course, Gundam G Quick is just really creative, even if it is like, oh, oops, Hideki Anno's dipping into the Evangelion vault again. I mean, hey, and it's fine. I get it. Hey, he can do that. He's like the one anime creator. It's like, fine, sure, give us somewhat more Evangelion tangential content. Whatever.
He's earned that right to do that.
Hopefully, we have a better season with the summer season. But I don't know, man. The fact that like we just watched the anime awards and Solo Leveling was the popular anime, even though it's like whatever, it's like I don't know. It's like I get it. The action shows are always going to be the winners, but that's what the audience wants. They don't want the super compelling weird stuff. They want the action shows, which hey, I get it. I love my action shows. And as I said before, when you look at the summer season, it's like, well, what's coming out in the summer season if you're so adamant about what's like the unique stuff? And it's like, well, oh no, the returning shows are catching my eye again. We got like My Dress Up Darling season 2, Dan Dan season 2, Kaiju number 8 season 2, Call of the Night season 2. For some reason, The Rising of the Shield Hero season 4, not really, but Sakamoto Days part 2. I think this time I'm just going to have to be ready to get surprised by the new stuff and not the returning stuff because there's just not a whole lot that looks interesting in the summer season except for City the Animation, which is by Kyo Annie and such. So
Yeah,
it's just tough. I hate being this negative about it and being like, well, here's dreading summer season. And it's like that with the fall season too. I'm sorry. It's like the fall is, oh yeah, One Punch Man season 3, Spy X Family season 3, the final season of My Hero Academia, To Your Eternity season 3, Campfire Cooking in Another World. We'll just have to see. I'm hoping for the best. Let's stay positive.
yeah, that's the right attitude to go into the next season with. But until we get there, Cameron, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Blue Sky. Like, yes, I do have a Twitter, but I'm barely on it. I just check whatever small updates there are. But I'm on Blue Sky at camsiview.biz. I have a website called camsiview.biz where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I am a contributing writer to Media Magpies, your next new stop for fresh and fun observations and talking about pop culture and film media in your life. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camsiview, and that's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You can escape, so do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.
Uh,